Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Tuesday, the 20th of May, which makes this the news for Monday, May 19th, day 1181 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5, coming to you live from this major European capital currently under siege. Hey, Joe, what do you know? Hey, Mike Kelly. Hey, Nightshade. Hey, Bjorn. Sweden's in the house. Hey, Bobby here. Hey, Anthony, Tommy Tom. Hey, Steve with a V. G2, Sarah, how you doing? Hey, Michael Boucher. How are the peeps tonight? Sorry, I forgot to get a drink before I started. Hey, freedom doesn't last. It was very pleasant, thank you. You'll never believe what we did. So there is here in Kyiv, are you ready for this? Something called, hey PH, hey Flippy. There is here in Kyiv something called the Museum of Toilet History. I swear to God, it's a real thing. It's here in Kyiv. And my friend Vika went to work there. And so my In Conversation with English Speaking Club had a field trip to the toilet museum. And we learned all about ancient Egyptian toilets and hygiene throughout history, and the important, that kind of thing. It was really a very interesting time. It really was. But it's a weird thing, the Museum of Toilet History. But it's a real thing. And if you are in Kyiv, I would suggest stopping by there. It's true. Hey, there's Ted Greenhow, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. As I understand it, Ted sells real estate, right, Ted? In the Ontario province, I think. I think I saw one of your videos was in Stratford, so I assume you're in Ontario. So if you have realty needs in Ontario province, hit up Ted. Hey, Michael Kistner. Michael Kistner recently joined Alberta. Pardon me. Calgary, Alberta. Thank you. I didn't pick up anything I didn't buy any gifts in the gift shop, I confess. I did not. Oh, that's great, Lars. That's good too, Mike Kelly. But Lars, that's hysterical. Russia's whole goal is to capture the toilet museum. So everybody is talking about it. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. I've always basically trusted the media. I have, like the New York Times, the Washington Post, journals of integrity and truth. I thought of them. Well, God, they are getting Ukraine and Russia wrong every fucking time. It is unbelievable. The headlines today. Trump's call with Putin is going to lead to a ceasefire. Putin wants peace. Yada, yada, yada. Let me tell you how much Putin wants peace. You know what he did the night before the phone call? He sent 273 drones at the territory of Ukraine. 273, the largest single drone assault on this nation since the start of the war. That's how committed to peace Vladimir Putin is. And on his call, he did what he always did, and he played Trump like a fiddle, paying lip service to the idea of peace. I swear to God, he intentionally used the word work on a memoranda because the last memoranda, the Budapest memoranda, he wiped his ass with. Right? Wiped his ass with the Budapest memoranda. So I think he's calling for talk on a memoranda. like as his own private personal joke. This is what it's worth. Trump is clearly in Putin's corner. Again, in an interview on Fox News this weekend, he talked about how hard it is dealing with Zelensky. Yeah, it's hard dealing with Zelensky because you don't want to give him what he wants and you want to give Putin everything he wants. Ridiculous. And Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 and the Friendship Treaty and yada, 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 yada. It goes on. All the way back to the Helsinki Accords. Putin just keeps wiping his ass with every treaty, every piece of paper that comes along. So, and Trump is his puppet. Trump is clearly his puppet. Anybody who doesn't think the American federal government has been subverted by a malign foreign agent has their head in the sand. It's ridiculous. Now, I have some quotes here that I want to give you from Medinsky. These were published in The Economist magazine. And I think that this is where Russia's really at. Quote, perhaps some of those sitting at this table will lose more of their loved ones. No implied threat in that at all, right? Russia is ready to fight forever. We don't want war. No, they don't want war. They want capitulation. They want submission. They don't, like any bully, they don't want people that fight back, that fight for their right to exist. I don't know, Slade. Sometimes the moderators make mistakes. Maybe it was a mistake. Hang around and we'll see what happens. So Medinsky goes on. We don't want war. Bullshit, right? You started it. You continue it. You've got to be kidding me. He goes on. But we are ready to fight for a year, 2, 3, as long as it takes. We fought Sweden for 21 years. How long are you ready to fight? Again, those quotes are reported in The Economist. And I believe that that is a fair assessment of what is really going on here. Trump, for his part, in that same Fox Weekend interview, said that nothing is going to happen here until he talks to Putin. And he repeated that again after today's phone call with Putin. So they had a 2-hour phone call. And Trump came away talking like Chamberlain in 1936, saying that only he and Putin could settle this thing. This is such nonsense. And again, repeated the lie that Zelensky doesn't have any cards. Zelensky has all the cards. He's demonstrated it in dealing with Trump over and over and over again. That minerals deal that Trump so wanted, he didn't get what he wanted. He got a basically fair arrangement, not the neo-colonial economic extortion that he tried in his first couple rounds. Nobody can make the president of Ukraine sell out the future of these people. That can't be done. Can't be done. And nobody is going to get Ukraine to submit. That's not going to happen. I talk to Ukrainians every single day. Nobody is ready to hang it up. Not at least in my circle here in Kyiv. No, it's not a thing. J.D. Vance, that clown, was at the Pope's inaugural service along with Marco Rubio and had a side meeting with Zelensky. Now, we don't know exactly what came out of that. It's said that they talked about prisoner exchanges, long-term security, etc. But I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ukraine. As an American, I am deeply sorry that we are not there for you. That right now we are in a situation where our government is subverted by a puppet of the Kremlin. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And we in the United States have to deal with this reality. We have to stop hiding our heads in the sand. We have to stop making excuses for Trump. We have to stop saying stupid things like he's playing 3D chess or whatever. So, I don't know what to do about it. I really don't. I did what is supposed to work in the United States. You vote. You vote. And it didn't work. And I do put that down to Russian influence. Now, the Russians, for their part, they announced that they were going to launch an RS-24 Yars intercontinental nuclear ballistic missile as a test, right? So as a combat training test. Now, first of all, if you are launching intercontinental nuclear ballistic missiles, there's no combat going on. You're just looking to annihilate your opponent. So this was supposed to be some kind of a combat training exercise. And for some reason, it didn't happen. Maybe because none of their shit works. Why would it? They don't spend any money on maintenance. They don't take care of this shit. It's all inherited from the Soviet Union, and they've been riding... Hold on for a second. Wait a second. I got to get rid of this cunt here. There we go. And they've been riding on the wave for 30 years of fear that they have all this shit that they inherited from the Soviet Union, or that they stole from former Soviet states when the Soviet Union collapsed, like those 40 Tu-95s that they stole from the Kazakhs. So I don't know what happened with this missile test. I don't know if they tried to fire it off and it just didn't work. We don't have any reports of fires or explosions on the ground. So it's not like the last time they tested the Sarmat missile and it blew up in the silo, which is typical and hysterical all at the same time. But they were supposed to have this missile test yesterday or last night, and it did not happen. Didn't happen. We don't know why. There are Iranian troops in Ukraine. Make no mistake about it. First, there were North Korean troops. Now we know there to be Iranian troops. Video emerged on the Telegram channel, Mideast Spectator. And on that channel, you can see the video of the Iranians, clearly Iranians. They're speaking Persian. Nobody speaks Persian outside of Iran. They are having trouble communicating with their Russian counterparts. And they seem adverse to going into battle. There seem to be real communication problems. Now, look, maybe these aren't Revolutionary Guard types. Maybe they're just regular Iranians who are looking to make some money, or maybe they're just mercenaries. If it turns out that they are regular Iranian troops, like the case with the North Koreans turned out to be, then this is a whole new escalation to this war. You've got not just Russian troops, but you've got North Korean and Iranian troops fighting a war in Europe. And the Europeans are not stepping up to that threat. It's a real threat. It's a real threat. And I'm very sorry, Europe, but you cannot count on us anymore for anything. The United States having its own problems right now. And until we solve those problems and get our country back out of the hands of these traitors, we're not going to be able to do much, I don't think. I really don't. I'm going to be very surprised if Lindsey Graham gets his Russian sanctions package through. That is good news. Who said that? Leo Ring, our buddy Leo Ring. Hey, Leo. Leo Ring makes the point, hey, there was a win this weekend, and there was. You're right, Leo. It was the Romanians. The Romanians elected a pro-European, pro-democracy candidate rather than the hard alt-right pro-Russian candidate. Now, he pretends not to be pro-Russian, but his policies are very in line with the Kremlin. Now, as far as the history there, it is important to remember what the Romanians did when they discovered that they had a pro-Putin candidate who had lied about his campaign funding. They threw him in jail. Well, they arrested him. He's waiting trial, right? And they voided the results of the first round of elections. That is something that every Western democracy needs to start doing. If you're in a country that has freedom of speech and you run on a ticket of shutting down the speech of other people, you don't get to run. You're in America and you run saying that you can protest, you can peacefully assemble, but other people can't, or that the guarantees of the Constitution don't apply to some people in your country. No, you don't get to run. You don't get to run. I want to see the Republican Party banned as a party. They have allowed themselves to be so complicit in this takedown of American democracy that they cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted. We need a purge of the Trumpists, and every one of them have to be held accountable for their treachery and betrayal. It is, Tom, it's the paradox of tolerance, right? The only thing that a tolerant society cannot tolerate is intolerance. So when you have a son of a bitch who is deporting American citizens, children with cancer, American citizens being deported, but welcoming in $5 million green card, what does he call it? His gold card citizenship green card. Cartel members, 17 members of a South American cartel guilty of the worst crimes against humanity that you can imagine. Destabilizing their own governments. He welcomes them in for $5 million apiece. He welcomes in the racist white South Africans who made their fortunes off the backs, the exploitation of the native population for 6 generations. It can't be allowed. It devalues what it means to be an American. And it's like he's packing the ranks of voting with the white racist supremacists that support him. It's outrageous. It's outrageous, and it can't be allowed. The Ukrainians, for their part, they keep breaking records. I swear to God, it's every week, isn't it, guys? You know, like, hey, what are you doing this week? I don't know. Has anybody ever shot down $100 million worth of jets with an unmanned sea drone? No, nobody's ever done that. Well, let's do that this week, right? Like, that's what it's like every single week here. And this week, the Ukrainians asked themselves, hey, has anybody ever taken a twin rotor helicopter gunship out with drones. No, nobody's ever done that. Well, let's do that. And on May 16th, the Ukrainian armed forces took out a Ka-52 Alligator gunship using nothing but drones. Unbelievable. I mean, it really is miraculous watching these people work. On the subject of telling America to go fuck itself, the Australians are stepping up and sending those Abrams to Ukraine over U.S. officials' objections. Now, as far as I know, the U.S. hasn't officially said to Australia, don't send those tanks. But we have lots of reports that U.S. officials have quietly been pressuring Albanese in Australia not to send those tanks. The Australians are saying, no, we're sending them. So big thank you. Scully, I don't know if you're here. You're in Australia, right? Aren't you, if you're here? Big thanks to the Australians for sending more, hey, Kath Brown, sending more Abrams to Ukraine than the United States has. Ugh. Popcornist, these Abrams were due to be retired. They're upgrading their tank fleet. I'm not exactly sure with what. I think with second generation Abrams. But according to Albanese, we have tanks that are on the way at the moment, which is a very positive initiative, quote, end quote. So those Abrams are coming. Now, on the subject of promised aid that the United States has quietly been trying to keep from coming to Ukraine, there is the question of Frederick Mertz and the Taurus missiles. Now, the good news here is that those Taurus missiles were promised by Mertz during his election, right? The U.S. has been quietly saying to him, don't send the Taurus missiles, don't send the Taurus missiles. I mean, the U.S. is doing everything it can to undermine Ukraine. Let's be honest about it. Let's look at it and face the reality. And that reality is that the U.S. is telling allied countries like Australia and Germany not to support Ukraine. Much to our shame. Much to our shame. Big kudos to the ambassador, the former ambassador, I forget her name, Blink, I think, the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, who just quit her job, and quit her job saying that she could not work for an administration that would not pursue a just peace in Ukraine. So good for her. I'm with you, It's a New Dawn. I think the United States should walk away. The problem is that for Putin, that's a win. If United States power isn't backing Ukraine, that's a win for Putin. But I think the reality is that as long as Trump is in charge, U.S. power is never going to back Ukraine. So we just have to hope that Trump keeps his word this time. Because they said they were going to walk away a month ago, remember? They didn't. I don't think they can. There's a lot of pressure inside the United States to support Ukraine. So we'll see what happens. But basically, after the phone call today, he didn't walk away. He wouldn't have had the phone call with Putin today over this if he had walked away. J.D. Vance wouldn't be meeting with Zelensky in Rome if he had walked away. We haven't walked away. We're still in it. So the other thing on the subject of the Taurus missiles, is that why he's orange, Scully? God, don't these people ever die? So, I don't know what that means, metal scraper. But Merz has said during the election that he would send Taurus. Then, when he got into office and he got this pressure not to send Taurus from the U.S., he said, you know what? We're going to make weapons deliveries to Ukraine a secret. And he just said this weekend in an interview that the promises he has made will be kept. So for all we know, the Taurus are on the way. The Ukrainians and the Germans are figuring out how they're going to use them, how they're going to communicate the necessary solution, the necessary targeting solutions using that technology. So we'll see what happens. Metal Scraper, is English your first language? I mean, I don't know what any of your comments mean. If you were the last soldier maimed, you would support peace. I do support peace. What are you talking about? Of course I support peace. I also support the right of a free and sovereign nation to defend itself against those who don't. There is a difference. Czar Trump is unable to walk away. He has a plan, and the crybaby hates looking weak. You are not kidding. He does have a... Yeah, English is definitely not your first language, which is not... I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just saying get a better translator than Yandex. Over the weekend, we saw the emperor has no clothes. You're right. Over the weekend, we saw the Ukrainians hit the oil and gas platforms in the Black Sea. Now, what the Russians have done... Okay, look, anybody who mentions Gaza gets muted. It's just that simple. This is a Ukraine channel. We are talking about Ukraine, not the Israeli genocide in Gaza. Okay? Just, that's all there is to it. Now, the oil platforms in the Black Sea, the Russians use to put radar installations up there, listening installations up there, etc. And the Ukrainians hit them hard this weekend. It looks as though they have managed to blow the technology that the Russians had installed on them right off of the oil and gas platforms. And so that's good news. It blinds the Russians to the western half of the Black Sea. Hey, Cynthia. Hey, Pugga Mahone. In the lead up to the call with Trump, where Putin is supposed to be showing the world how much he wants peace, his forces in Sumy used FPV drones to target a civilian bus. An entire family of 5, a mother, a father, and 3 children, were murdered on that bus, along with 4 other people. Just a civilian bus, just people going to work, going about their lives, unalived in the middle of the day. What happened actually with that Russian ship in Crimea? I don't know what you're talking about, Flip. Half the tonnage of the Black Sea Fleet is now a coral reef starter kit at the bottom of the sea. So I'm not aware. So all of the critical ships have been hit. Oh, dude, that video is from a year ago. That's one of those on this days videos. You know how TikTok recycles your videos and puts on them on this day, and it's from a year ago? That video is from a year ago, Flip. NATO Lake is the Baltic, not the Black. On the subject of hypocrisy, Margarita Simonian was moaning about Western governments banning Russian TV, RT News, right? Russian TV news. Which is hysterical to me, given that she is in a country where all news but official state news is banned. You can't get on YouTube. You can't get on Instagram. You can't get on a myriad of social media platforms. And if you are not state media, you cannot operate inside of Russia. So it's the same thing as with candidates for office in democracies. If you don't support democracies, you shouldn't get to run. If you are not a nation that abides by free speech, if you are nothing but a lying mouthpiece of a dictatorial regime hell-bent on genocide and the destruction of the international world order, guess what? We don't have to fucking listen to you. Fuck right off. Your opinions are meaningless because they do not operate within the scope of what is acceptable. It's just that simple. Free speech bears with it a responsibility, right? Every right has a responsibility. And if you're going to embrace free speech, it's got to be based on facts. It's got to be based on some kind of truth, not just your narrative to sow hate, fear, and division in the population, which is all that Russian news does. Now, we have some good news, too. Some new aid packages have been announced for Ukraine. Thanks, June. Denmark, 600 million euros. Self-propelled guns, equipment for the Air Force, some other things. Belgium, 1 billion euros. 1 billion euros from Belgium. Flip, my hat is off to you guys, boy. Good job, brother. Mostly for trucks. You're sending a lot of trucks, which the Ukrainians desperately need. These are all-terrain vehicles. I apologize, I didn't jot down the designation, but they're all-terrain vehicles supposed to be great for the war in Ukraine. Short-range air defense, which Ukraine desperately needs, Flip, and spare parts for the F-16s. So big kudos to Belgium. Finland. Is Tony Takiri here? Any of my Finns here? Finland approved 90 million euros for heavy artillery. And I think we talked about the money from Norway. I didn't think it was 80 billion. That doesn't seem quite right. Lars, can you mention that? Yeah, or can you comment on that? So good job, Finland. Good job, Belgium. Good job, Denmark. I mean, all of the Scandinavian and Baltic countries are really hitting above their average. Ugh. You know, if you come in here, 80 billion kroner, okay. Okay, that makes sense. So yes, again, still punching above your weight. As a percentage of GDP, the Scandinavian and Baltic countries lead the pack in everything. Okay, let's see. Do I have anything else? Nope, I think that is it. We can go to Q&A. Big thanks to Ted Green now, realtor in Calgary, Alberta. Thank you, Ted. Ted is one of a small group of people who really stepped up this past week and sponsored their first lives. Live sponsorship is $50 for a unique sponsorship, right? It's just you. Or less than that, and I cobble them together for shared sponsorships. Hey, Jacob. The effects of Trump's trade war are clearly already being felt. It's very difficult for me to find live sponsors. People have dropped the Patreon. So thank you, Ted. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you stepping up. Ted, Scully, Samso, oh God, and one other person. I'm so sorry, I've forgotten now off the top of my head. all stepped up in the last week to sponsor lives for the first time. The PayPal is in the description if anybody out there can help me. I literally do not have money for groceries this week. Not that I can't afford to lose a few pounds. I can. Hey, Kijo. Not that I'm aware of. I'm not even aware of any deployed S-500s. So Kijo is asking the question, was an S-500 air defense missile system destroyed today? Now, to the best of my knowledge, Russia only has maybe 5 prototypes of the S-500 system. It could be less. We don't really know. And to the best of my knowledge, there are none deployed to the war zone. There had been talk of the deployment of one some time ago in Crimea, but I don't know that that ever came to fruition, and I am unaware of one being destroyed. Not to say that it hasn't happened, I'm just not aware of one. Jerry O, you got my live and my love, brother. No worries. Jerry O's from Ireland and a longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you, Jerry O. That's right, laddie. Everybody thank Ted. I'll also thank Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group, and Jay and Travis, the moderators. And guys, look, it does happen sometimes that people get blocked by accident. As, I forget, somebody just said that happened to them. Freedom doesn't last, right? And it does happen sometimes. Just come on back or text me, DM me, and we'll see what the situation is. Ukraine Air Force flies so low they brush the treetops. Why? To avoid radar detection, right? They want to stay off those Russian radars. Right, Bernard, it happens. I remember there was a time, the last time I was this poor was 1991. There was a period there where for 2 weeks I lived on lentils and drop biscuits that I was baking myself. Those are times of growth, boy. Not around the waistline, the opposite, but intellectually, spiritually, physically. How is the situation in Ukraine right now? It's tough. It's very, very difficult. The front line is under a great deal of pressure. Everybody is pushing. Hey, Papa, thanks for subscribing. That's a help too. I would prefer you join the Patreon because the Patreon doesn't take half of the subscription cost like TikTok does. TikTok actually takes 60% of it. Patreon takes 8%. But I appreciate it. I do definitely appreciate it. The situation in Ukraine is very difficult. This country has seen 43% of its GDP destroyed by this war. It's seen a good chunk of my generation of people, the 40 to 60, leave lots of children without fathers, lots of wives without husbands, lots of mothers without sons. The civilian toll, which keeps counting, 9 in Sumy, 1 here in Kyiv last night. It keeps ticking up. At the Estonian Defense Contractor Summit this weekend, I forget who said it, but there was a great quote when asked who was winning the war. This person responded, both Ukraine and Russia are losing, but Russia is losing more slowly. Russia has 5 times the population, 20 times the land, the entire inheritance of the Soviet Union going for it. It has and has had every advantage in this war, now including the President of the United States in Putin's pocket. They have every advantage. And yet they can't get anywhere. The Ukrainians have had them stopped for 2 Years. The nine square kilometers they took last week cost them 1,000 men a square kilometer. That's insane. The number of tanks being destroyed on the battlefield keeps dropping. You know why? Because they aren't using tanks anymore. They aren't using armored personnel carriers anymore. The Ukrainians have destroyed something like 22,000 armored personnel carriers. Why is Trump giving time to Russia to regroup? Trump isn't giving time to Russia to regroup. He's trying to give Russia Ukraine. He's trying to hand Putin the win because he is an asset of the Kremlin. He is a creature of the Kremlin. He is a Putin puppet. Make no mistake. He is a friend to autocrats and dictators, not to the American people. He has sold us out lock, stock, and barrel. How do you think ARCs will feel if they knew Putin signed document committing them to 2 more years? I don't know that orcs do feel. There seems to be a particular lack of empathy among those people. And Scotty, that's before among those people. And Scotty, that's before we get to the 11,000 tanks. They're almost at 11,000 tanks. That's how many tanks the USSR lost in World War II. Unbelievable. No, the minerals deal didn't change any calculuses because Trump didn't get what he wanted. The first minerals deal was a neo-colonial economic coercion of Ukraine. The minerals deal he got is basically fair. It's not exploitative. It gives control of the subsurface mineral rights to the Ukrainian government. That's not what Trump wanted. Remember, Trump cut the same exact deal with the Afghans. You don't think anybody's going into Taliban-controlled Afghanistan to mine lithium, do you? No. It's political theater. Michael, I don't have any word on how the Bradleys are faring on the battlefield lately. I would assume they're still doing their kick-ass job. Yes, that's it, Scully. Scully's absolutely right. Donald Trump's entire goal is to get the Ukrainians to surrender. Congress isn't helping much either. No, they are not. Well, they're completely Republican controlled, so they are completely in Trump's pocket. Russia definitely helped him win the election both times. Trump is a TV show, you're right, and everything he does is a smokescreen for his far more odious and nefarious plans of world domination. Hey, Avi. It is a sad time in America. I don't know. I mean, it's possible, Scotty, that Putin does have something on Trump. But I think the reality is that the KGB bought Trump in 1989, maybe even earlier, maybe when he married Ivanka. Was it Ivanka or Ivana? Whatever, the first one, the commie first wife, who he probably didn't really marry as much as just buy from the Russian syndicate. And ever since then, they've owned him. The Russians have bailed him out on numerous occasions. There's cases where the Russians paid, I believe, $96 million for a Trump property that was valued at $28 million down in Florida. Now, why do you pay $96 million for a $28 million property? It's because you're buying the guy. That's why. After his trip to Moscow, his first trip to Moscow in '88, that was paid for by the KGB, Trump came home and ran for president, remember? He took out full-page ads in the New York Times and the Washington Post saying we should be out of NATO, parroting the Kremlin talking points. He's money laundering, lots of money laundering with this bastard. So he's bought and paid for. He's just a creature of the Kremlin. That's all he is. Pete, I want to say in 1988, now I'm not sure that I'm remembering this right, but I want to say that in 1988, a full page ad in the New York Times was $1 million. Putin has kept him financed through Deutsche Bank all these years, yes. Souls are expensive. His soul, if he has a soul, it's got 2 mortgages on it at least. One to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and one to Vladimir Putin. Ah, Cynthia, you are the best. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, not that I couldn't go for a couple days without it. Cynthia, I'll tell you guys a story. Back at the beginning of this channel, before I had any followers or anything, there were months there at the beginning where I was living on potatoes and onions. I mean, literally, that's all I was eating for weeks at a time. And if it weren't for Cynthia, I wouldn't have been able to afford those. So, Cynthia, you are the best. Thank you. Best to Tony. Right, exactly. Your foreign policy shouldn't change, certainly not this way, certainly not the embrace of the enemy. Did you hear Trump's library burnt down? He lost both books. One he didn't finish coloring. You're funny, Bernard. Much more frightening than that is his firing of the Librarian of Congress. In the statement about the firing, he made it clear he has no idea what the Library of Congress is. And I don't know how the Librarian of Congress felt about having her career finished by Donald Trump. But if it were me, I'd wear it like a badge of honor. Because what that says is that the traitor in charge, the grifter in chief, knows that you are a threat to his power. Now, of course, she's been replaced by a completely unqualified candidate who is completely loyal to Donald Trump. Every one of these people needs a trial. They need due process before we lose due process completely. Hey, Dan Ballard. Hey, Dan, any word on, you got a tracking number on that? I haven't heard anything. And it's like it's almost 2 months, I think, since you said you sent it. Don't worry, Center for Life. I haven't even really lost any weight in this country, which you would think eating potatoes and onions, for weeks at a time, you would think you would, but not me, boy. Michael, you make an excellent point, sir. Isn't the Librarian of Congress employed by Congress? Yes. Donald Trump at every turn is exercising extra executive power, powers he does not have. Like cutting funding for the USAID. That's a government, that's a congressionally, that's a legislatively enacted body enacted by an act of law by Congress, should not be, and funded by money approved by Congress, who is supposed to control the purse strings in our democracy. And he's just cut it all to fund tax breaks for his billionaire buddies. It's obscene. So far, it's the largest single transfer of wealth, the largest concentration of wealth in the hands of a few that we have seen in the history of the United States. It is a violation of everything we are supposed to hold dear. Trump is the Manchurian candidate, yes. Not hardtack, drop biscuits, Cynthia. I mean, really very easy to make, very, very cheap, very inexpensive. All you need is a little water, a little flour, a little baking soda, and you're good to go. If you're lucky and you have some raisins and cinnamon, you can make them sweet. Or if you have some pepperoni and cheese, you can make them savory. And all of those items are available at low, low cost, so you can get variation in your meager portions. Everybody should be on the phone to their congressman and senator every day. Oh, he'll sacrifice anybody. He will throw anybody under the bus. No two ways about it. Hey, Becca. Yes, Mike Gordon, you can get enough money. Yes, I'm living for years and years. I did just fine. Over here in Ukraine, I'm living, well, you can look at my Patreon account. I'm living on about $1,500 a month. And because it's not about the money. I am here to learn from the Ukrainians about our common enemy, the Russians. And I have learned quite a lot in the last couple years. I might finally have an explanation for how we ended up with Donald Trump in the US. And I'm going to start publishing those videos on my Patreon. Probably Friday, the first one will go up. So if you are not a Patreon subscriber, get yourself, you can get a free account. You don't have to pay to be on Patreon. You can get a free Patreon account. And those videos will start, I'll start publishing them on Friday. I expect to be able to do one a week because there's a lot of reading involved. So for me, being here is definitely not about the money. I always believed that, you know, there would be enough money, that the money would come through the generosity of people like Cynthia and Tony, her husband, people like Ted, the sponsor of tonight's live, who believe that an American voice here in Ukraine, reporting from on the ground, could be valuable. And that's why I've stayed here. It is definitely not about the money. Anybody who wants to know how much money I make can see. But I do have to eat. You can't get Crisco here, Samantha. It's all, and I hate buckwheat. I hate it. I have some in the closet somebody gave me back when I was starving. My buddy Igor came over and he showed me how to make borscht. He taught me how to make borscht, and he brought all this stuff to make borscht. And he brought, like, I think he just cleaned out his cupboard of all the non-perishable foods. And I still have some of the kash up there. Thanks, RK News. That's what they use here, Dark Bamboozle, at pork fat, lard. That's everything. They call it sallow. What can you do to help the Ukrainian people? Go to united24.gov.ua. United24, United spelled out, then 24.gov.ua. And you can donate directly to the Ukrainian armed forces there. You can see about what other projects, what other nonprofits there are here. but that is the official website. Now, there are a couple of nonprofits that support Ukraine that I've personally worked with, including Spirit of Ukraine Foundation, which is, I think, in here right now. Can somebody chat in the United 24 website for USJMS, please? Then there's Fast Angels, my buddy Tony Takiri, who does aid runs from Finland down to Ukraine. There's Life Guardians, which is Dutch Cossacks group. They right now are focused on sending fishing nets to Ukraine. And you say, fishing nets? Why would you send fishing nets? Well, thanks, Spirit of Ukraine. Why would you send fishing nets to Ukraine? Because they drape them over the trench positions and they catch drones. They stop the drones. There's a picture today. Now, I don't know that it's accurate or true, but it looks pretty convincing to me. There's a photograph today of a 250 kilo glide bomb hanging in the air over a Ukrainian emplacement, just caught in a net. Like, amazing, right? So Dutch Cossack and his guys at Life Guardians, the guys at Fast Angels, the folks over at Spirit of Ukraine, Blue Ariel Silk, who is a long-term sponsor of this channel, also does some good work here in Ukraine. There's a lot of things you can do to help Ukraine. Okay, kids. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Ted. Thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group, and Jay and Travis, the sponsors. I have not tried canned pork actually, I take that back. David. I got some MREs, some Ukrainian MREs, and that's basically what was in one of them, was pork and buckwheat. I mean, it didn't have bad flavor. If I were in a trench, I would eat it. But I'm just not crazy about that buckwheat. Needs maple syrup. There's no maple syrup in this country. If you think maple syrup is expensive at home, holy fuck, you should try buying a pint of maple syrup in this country. No, I don't have the money for luxuries like that right now. But that's okay, because very cheaply available is a cherry syrup. They're big on cherry here. Cherry grows great here. And there are 1,000,001 different super cheap locally produced cherry syrups. And so if I need syrup, that's what I'm using these days. But I don't even have any of that in the house. That's kind of a luxury too. Anyway, all right, kids, thanks for everything. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Good night, Gracie.